Hello. So this video is an expose. I'm making this video like a dot in time. Yeah. So there is it's like a puzzle piece. Yes. So there have been videos that I've been making and then putting up on different social media. And then over a period of time, as I'm living, the story becomes better and as content improves, and then what's coming out of these contemplations further informs on what's happening, what is developing, and what is the story, what is the elephant by dashing the dots, dotting the dashes. Over a period of time, if you're just following my different social media, you'll see that there's a pattern. There's a certain, you can verify the truth of what I'm saying based on what's been said and how it's been said, and then how my work is, the development of all of this is work in progress. So there have been several phases en route, and I was watching through other people's work. For example, the Just Be owner, Nidhi, and many other people. Yeah. So I was thinking, I don't have photographs of all of that, and I don't have videos of doing those things. So only people who've known me closely would be able to kind of verify that that is true or not, and to what extent. And still, they can only see what they could see, like bits. My name is Bita. So people have been tending to call me as Bits. So I was thinking en route that I will only, people want to call me Bits, you only get bits of me. Yeah, nobody really gets Bita. And that's also kind of my way of quarantine. It's kind of quarantine, but it's also isolation. Yeah. So people only get bits of me. So people in my life who've been around have been getting different bits of me. And hence they only when they kind of remember those bits will they be able to connect the dots. So I was thinking, no videos, no photographs. Now I've come to a point where it seems like I document. I mean, this was the instinct which was there all those years back. 2006 around is when I began. 2004, 2005 actually, I think. 2004. When I joined my second company as an employee. So there was this sense of, document. And over time it became, something got so fast, so quick, that it was easier to just look through the details than actually documenting every bit of it. And I was thinking, if it's true, if it's valuable, over time I'll be able to get back to what those details are, and then remember, and then see how they are connected. So documentation took a little backseat, and then there was just a development and contemplation and figuring out stuff. And then over time I have been remembering, then reincorporating, visiting back, and then it's become a pattern on how I do that. So now it seems like this phase, every phase I keep reinventing myself. So this phase, it seems like I need to just put out all this stuff. It's like clearance sale, put out all this stuff which has been developed this far, because for new stuff to develop, there need to be space. It's like, like Walmart, all stocked. There is sales happening, but then, there is so much of produce happening that what is already there needs to be cleared out. It's like clearance sale. So this phase, it seems like I document this development in video, in photographs, so that it's not just about the verification, the veracity of it, but it's also those who may be watching, paying attention to what I'm doing, can begin to maybe start making their movements in doing the right things. So there are several aspects about my work, about my life. Mine is a believe it or not life story. So there are several aspects of it which would already begin those do the right thing movements in people who would be watching. Now, those who may not already be convinced about anything that I'm saying, saying what I'm doing is healthy, wealthy, wise. But if you're not able to see it immediately, maybe over a period of time, if you're following my social media, if you're going to go back to my previous ones or future later times, if you're going to go back to any of these videos, then maybe you'll be able to join the dots. And it becomes easier for me to tell my story. Yeah, because it's kind of the story getting zippy logic, and then just those finer points that you're able to connect those dots and then go from there, rather than, well, you would still be reinventing the wheel, but which wheels to connect, or why these wheels are connected, and why these are do the right thing movements and not others, may be able to be more discerned when you're able to see those finer details by how certain choices led to other things, and how how these gears are connected. Yeah, so I must say, slightly brace yourself, because it's not going to be what you're going to usually see, yeah, in what you would call as normal ordinary living. But this is normal ordinary living. And how is it normal ordinary living? You'll be able to discern when I point out the details. Yeah, so I'll point out some details here, but the larger picture will only get clearer as you zoom out, and then you begin to start seeing the elephant. Yeah, so this is going to be like, rope, wall or trunk or different things, or you're going to say, oh, dirt, dust, or you're going to say scrap, rubble. You're not going, none of this is going to make sense until you zoom out and actually see the whole picture. Yeah. Let's just say the whole picture is a little like Earth. Yeah. How this and that is connected, you're going to have to do a bit of zoom in, zoom out, but it's going to take a while before you get that. But let's just see. So this is where I live. So going into the house, yeah, it's a tiny studio house. So this is kind of like my living space. Yeah, it's got spaces and it's got things, and it's basically like time and space. Yeah, there's spaces, there's time, and then there is things you may not expect to see. For example, okay, so what may not be obvious here is that there is dust on surfaces, yeah, and there is stains on surfaces, and then there is things kept somehow. And look at that, this one, yeah, it's decoration. I call it interior decoration. Well, all of this is interior decoration, but it's also, well, it's like chambers of a house, chambers of a space. These are also representatives, symbolic of different aspects of not just my work, not just my life, but also how things are. Yeah, as in like a memory palace. I need to remember the dust, and they need to settle for a while before they can form certain patterns. And once those patterns are formed, then they need to move to different other spaces to form other patterns. Yeah, and that's how the story develops, but is also informed and is informing. Yeah, so you can call this as a museum, but then it's not just a museum. It's a living house. It's a memory. It's not just a memory, it's a living house. These are all people. These are all my family members. All of these are my family members. Each of them in their different states, how they are, what they're doing. Each of them are my family members. And they are all speaking to me of how things are and how they would like to be taken care of. But more importantly, they are all there for a reason. They are all playing a role in having life become healthier, better. They came from, somebody made them. Yeah, somebody made them and came here. And they're also telling of how the makers are, how their health is, what kind of people are around me. When I go to shops and I buy things, say in a grocery store, they tell the story of how life is right now. And they inform me. And then they inform my work. And then I make my choices, my decisions on which way better to go, so that, the fabric of time and space is healing better. So these are all reminders, place like interior decoration to remind me of what I need to look at, how things are seen. So these are all fabric of time and space. Yeah, you may see this as just clothes, but these are all colors and different aspects. I contemplate around in things. So things may look dirty, but they're not dirty. They are more like oil grease. Yeah, a vehicle, once it gathers sufficient oil, if they stay for a while, and then they kind of get deposited with sand and many other particles, and then after a period of time they need cleaning, they need rejuvenation. So it's not just an observation, but it's also the fact of life. When you're living it, when you're continuously living life, how does life move from birth, like when very fresh colored, to as you're living through them, what becomes the colors? It's not an observation, but the fact of how life moves. You may call it as half-life, shelf life. But when does really something become no longer usable? What is that absolute cycle? In my world, mighty world, there's this gear that I put up on my podcast. It says, no waste, no buy, reduce, reuse, recycle, no waste, absolute. So that gear formed from here, from what has been informed, how by the informing and the being informed, and then how would life like to be treated came about. The development of that gear came about from listening to my family members, paying attention to how they are, what's their experience of living. When I do something, when I accidentally maybe hit something, and how is their experience? It may just be a material, but it has a tension, material tension, that says how long will it last, and what happens when the tension is relieved. How long can they now go on because the tension is now relieved? So they're actually speaking about how they would like to be treated, and how long can they really last if only we took care of them well enough. So that gear, and so the different products from my company comes from the contemplations in these spaces. So right now I'm in a transition phase. I'm moving around things, so that it is important to just capture this just as a documentation. I was thinking I'm just going to take photographs or just make some notes, but then there's something more that's possible which a video can capture, and it seems like now I'm at a phase where I document it this way, like living life on the move, like in the moment, like an actual life. So because Earth is also, your life is moving through that bettering phase. I call it, this morning I woke up thinking, Earth is moving through a rejuvenation phase, and history is moving as we speak, and I'm instrumental in moving history for the better, in rejuvenating Earth. So this is a historical moment that I'm also documenting. So we have all of these things, and so I do some drawings, paintings, and explore art in many ways. So that's also my kitchen space. Yeah, you can see that. So things are in different arrangement, and it is pick up and use and then leave around things and then watch those movements kind. So I hope any of this makes sense, or if not, it's more a documentation, but you cannot really call it as an experiment with truth. It used to be that, and now it is living the life of truth, Dharma for soul satisfaction. Yeah. So how did this come about? How did this story come about? How did medicine intelligence come about? How am I saying that my life is my message is my message to the world, and how medicine intelligence is living proof of sanatana dharma, and what is the science of life? How is this the tradition of life? How is this a proof of when you do the right things keep happening? So it's a lot of all of that, but it's also an attempt to, I'm also learning to communicate and use the right words, pronunciation, tone, and which are the right tones, when to speak, when not to. I'm work in progress, I'm developing, yeah, and I'm coming to those repairing the, healing the fabric of time and space. So my conversations are also bouncing off of how things are right now. And I'm work in progress. And I'm making things better. So as I said, I'm in a transition phase. So now there is a phase where there are some photographs from before this level of cleaning. So this is after one level of cleaning, or a few levels of cleaning. So now I was going to clean further. I thought, at least document this. I said that. But the point is that I'm in a transition phase. So after this, how is this room going to look? What is going to be the arrangement? Because then that's going to form another season in my life, and how the story is developing. So this has been happening. So it's a transition. Life is a transition, and every moment, every action we take to make things betters our story, betters our experience of living, betters who we are, what becomes possible and available to life from what we do, how we do things. So I hope this has been of interest to you. Thank you for listening. Do stay tuned to know how Maelstrom Intelligence grows, how Mighty Baby grows, and what Mighty Baby is. Who is behind this? Who is with this? Who is this? Like I said, it's like the elephant. Yeah, the 6 blind men and the elephant. We are at different levels of being able to see the elephant because of our different levels of sensibilities. So over time, you'll be able to connect the dots and be able to make sense of what I'm saying. Thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Love you all so much.